Old school. Going to call this meeting to order. I see we have a quorum tonight, and we need an approval of this agenda.
Madam President, I make a motion that we approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, all in favor with a show of hands? Okay. We're going to start with information, I'm guessing from Mr. Watts.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Moore. Several weeks ago, or maybe a month or two ago, I mentioned to the board that the district was looking at the possibility of providing some increases to some of our support employees. That we were in a position now where we could afford to not only provide a little bit of increase, but also to sustain that increase. Of course, a couple of things we wanted to look at in doing so. We wanted to look at what other surrounding districts are paying, also what other urban districts are paying. So I wanted to include at least one urban district in our information because, we often talk about being a world-class school system. Well, to be a world-class school system, you certainly have to pay for it, and you also have to compare yourself to some of the other districts that are paying those adequate salary ranges. So we wanted to make sure that it was sustainable. We wanted to look at comparative data, and we wanted to do it in a way and at a time in which, as I stated, we can afford it. But we didn't want to start looking at this until, let me put it this way. We didn't want the tax dollars, the ad valorem tax dollars to come before we start looking at this. We want the public to know that we could afford this based on the board's own fiduciary responsibilities. And it is because the board has done an excellent job of ensuring that the financial integrity of this district has been corrected. Our fund balance, as I stated, we're projecting to have more than a 2-month fund balance at the end of the fiscal year. In fact, we're projected to have over $50 million at the end of 2021, which is what the state looks at. But our local general fund, we're projecting to have at least $36 million. Our fund balance, as I stated, is growing. I do see where this will be sustainable if the board is to act on this particular recommendation. Those particular categories that I mentioned at the board meeting these were support positions, including all of the clerical positions, which include school secretaries, school bookkeepers, administrative secretaries. We also talked about paraprofessionals, or aides, is what sometimes they're called. Our security guards, our school custodians, our CNP workers, our computer technicians, many of our maintenance areas, such as grass crew, maintenance helpers, our electrical, HVAC, plumbing, carpentry, and bus drivers. You often hear that as soon as we train up a bus driver, the bus driver gets his or her CDL, they're gone immediately to one of our competing school districts. So we kind of want to do something about that as well. Now, I want to admit that we still are not as comparable as some of the other districts. But I do think this recommendation, it does kind of put us in the ball game. And there's a couple in which it may exceed a little bit of some of the other districts, but it certainly helps us to provide more of a livable wage for many of our employees. Okay, let's look first at school secretaries. We see that in Montgomery, the average salary of our school secretaries is about $15.05 per hour. And of course, we see the comparisons of other school districts. Talbot County, $18.03 per hour. Pike Road, $17.33 per hour. Birmingham, $20.53 per hour. notice that we have average up there. That is because we have so many different types of school secretaries, which is another thing that we'll need to address at some point. In fact, just looking at the school secretary salary schedule, I think Ms. Watkins said there are 7 different types of school secretary salary schedule. There are 7 different types of school secretary salary schedule. That is something that we need to address. I think we need to be a little bit more, I guess, more direct in these secretaries. We should have elementary secretary, middle school secretary, high school secretary. And of course, if we want to do it based on enrollment, we can also do that. But I think we need to be a little bit more comparable as how other districts treat these particular areas. Where you do see school secretaries, and you do see that we're the lowest amongst all. So we are proposing a 10% increase for school secretaries. Now, let's keep in mind that the state of Alabama, the state legislature has already proposed and have approved a 2% increase for all educational employees. Therefore, the district is requesting an additional 8%. So that 10% would be the 2% that the state has already approved, and the state is paying that 2%. And the district is proposing 8%, and the district will be paying that 8%. And I'll show you in a few minutes how that is broken down. So, with a 10% increase for school secretaries, we go from $15.05 per hour to $16.56 per hour. Ms. White, what is the range, the salary range of our school secretaries? The annual salary?
At the level 2, the beginning salary is
$21,110. So a school secretary begins at $21,110.
Yeah.
$21,110. So this would increase that school secretary up from the $21,000. Also, we see our school bookkeeper, and we see the school bookkeeper range is the exact same as the school secretary, $15.05 per hour. And of course, we see the comparative data of the other school districts. We see Ottawa County, we see Pike Road, and we see Birmingham. And we see the amount that we're paying comparable to the other urban school district of Birmingham. And of course, that 10% would put it up to $16.56 per hour. Then we see our paraprofessionals or aides. And of course, we see what Montgomery is currently paying, comparable to what Ottawa County is paying, Pike Road, and Birmingham. And of course, we see that Birmingham is paying $18.51. I think all of those are really, really low. And of course, we're recommending $14.93 per hour. What is the range that our aides make per?
The beginning salary is $19,029 to $21,890.
So our aides start off with about $18,000 or $19,000 per year, up to about $21,000 per year. So this would kind of take them up just a little bit with this 10% increase. Okay, security guards, as we see, our security guards start off at $12.72 per hour. We see what Ottawa starts off with. Pike Road doesn't have any security. I think they only have like 3 schools right now. And of course, we see what Birmingham pay their security guards. And so we're recommending a 10%, and that would take it to $13.99 per hour. What is the amount that we pay security guards?
The beginning salary is $19,029 to $21,891.
Okay, the $21,891 is how many? Is what step?
12.
So it takes a security guard to work 12 years to get up to how much? To get up to $21,000. That person will have to work 12 years to go from $19,000 to $21,000. Okay. Testing. Okay. So this is why we need to address these particular areas, or we are recommending to address these particular areas. School custodians. School custodians, $11.36 per hour. And of course, we're paying, I want to admit, we are paying a little bit more per hour than the other school districts are at this particular time as it relates to a school custodian, which I think all of them are low, because when you look at industry standards as it relates to school custodians, that's why we can't hardly find any, because they rather go and work in private industry where they can make way more, almost double the amount that we're paying, or double the amount that a school district is paying. So we're recommending $12.50 per hour, which is 10%. And what is the amount that school custodians make?
The starting salary is $17,897, and the ending salary is $20,214 at 12 years.
So 12 years, a custodian can start off at $17,000. After he or she has worked 12 years, they top out at how much?
$20,214.
At $20,214. CMP workers, we see what the CMP workers' hourly rate is, and you see what we're recommending. And let me make a statement as it relates to Birmingham. I had a conversation with the CFO there. They are about to raise their school custodians and their CMP up to over 15 to 16%. In fact, that's what the young lady told me. What day did I talk to? Was it last week? Last week. So they're about to, make more investments in their employees, as I think we should do as well. But of course, we want to do what we can afford right now, but we do think the additional 8% is certainly better than nothing. Now let's look at this hourly rate comparison. We see the average. This would be the average of what they're already paying, and this would be the average of where Montgomery would stand after the proposed raise. We see where we are here. We'll see where we're at after if the board were to approve that particular increase as it relates to an average. We see the same thing for school bookkeeper. We see where we are now on an average, and we see where we'll be as it relates to the proposed increase. Anybody have any questions thus far? Okay, and there we go with the aides and the school security guards. We see where we are now. We see what the average is, and we see where we'll be comparable to that average if this increase were to be approved. And there's the comparison with the school custodians and the CMP workers. And I do want to say that we wanted to start with support workers first. It's just so many times our support workers are, I don't want to say looked over, but there's a lot of times that I don't think we're doing what we need to do for our support workers. And so that's why we wanted to start with our employees that are making the least amount first, to try to get them up to a livable wage, hopefully at some point. Of course, we still have a lot more work to do, but we did want to start with the ones that were making the minimum amount. And there goes the CMP managers. Now let's look at the other areas. Administrative secretaries. We see 1765, and we see the range or the rates at the other school districts on average. And we see where we would be if the 10% increase was to be approved. What is the amount, Ms. Watkins, for the administrative secretary?
$27,621.
Okay. And then up to? Okay, up to what step?
That's
Up to step
level 4.
level 4. Okay. There are so many different levels in those administrative secretary salary schedules. So another thing we would need to look to do at some point is to see which salary schedules need to be combined and just have a look at all of our salary schedules. That's something I think we need to do as soon as possible as well. We see our computer technicians at $19 an hour. We see what Pike Road in Birmingham is paying computer technicians. Our grass crew, maintenance helpers, we see on average the amount that Montgomery is paying comparable to these other school districts at $20.30 an hour, $15.42 and $19.49. Then we see our journeymen, the electrical, HVAC, plumbing, and carpentry. It is so difficult for us to find people in these particular areas. Not only private industry, but also other school districts. And so you see where we'll be if we were to do the 10% increase. Bus drivers, we went a little bit over in bus drivers. We wanted to do it, we did it up to 15.5% for bus drivers, or recommending up to 15.5% for bus drivers. We did talk with the transportation director, Mr. Thornton. He said that he do think that this will help out quite a bit. He said that it may not discourage everybody, but he said he think it'll be a pretty big help because you're talking about an additional $80 to $90 a month for those bus drivers, and he thinks that would be kind of huge for them. So that would go from $13.85 per hour to $16 per hour, and we see what other school districts are paying their bus drivers. Way more than us. And there we see our graph, on average, we see our graph and see where we would be if this proposed increase was to take place. Administrative secretaries, computer technicians, the maintenance, the electrical, HVAC, plumbing, and carpentry. And there we see our bus drivers. You still see how far behind we still would be with bus drivers. And let me just say this, all of these other salary schedules, it does not include the 2%. What we have here on proposed include the 2% and the 8%, include the total 10%. Birmingham, Pike Road, or Talbot, none of them even include the 2%, in which they are mandated to provide their employees those increases effective October 1st. Now, I want to kind of talk about how this is going to be funded, how it's going to affect our general fund and so forth. And I wish we could blow this up, but I don't know if there's a way. That's not a way we can blow this up, is it? Okay. Okay. We see the various funding sources that these monies will be paid from. The total cost of the 2% raise for everyone, in which the state is going to fund, it's almost $500,000. I'm sorry, kind of sensitive. The state is going to fund almost $500,000 of this raise, because that's the 2% state mandated increase that the state legislature approved back during the summer. The amount the district is proposing, the increase is about $2 million, and that's the 8% proposed increase. Now, we went ahead and broke that down by funding source. We see that at Secretary's bookkeeping, we see the general fund, $307,000. CNP, which is the CNP federal dollars, they'll pick up their share. And Title I, because many of their aides and so forth are paid out of Title I. So Title I federal dollars will pay for those particular aides. So we got various funding sources. So general fund would not absorb the entire $2 million. General fund would absorb a portion of that, and child nutrition, federal child nutrition, special ed, Title I, they will pick up those other amounts. And there we see the breakdown of those other fund sources. We see general fund will pick up $1.3 million of that $2.6 million. they'll pick up $1.3 million general fund. Of course, again, as I stated, our fund balance is sustainable and will be sustainable thereon. The state transportation fund will pick up $329,000. Our nursing program, $3,000. Title I will pick up $107,000. CNP, $451,000. And then we got those various other fund sources that would pick up the remainder dollar amounts. So we see that out of all of this total of about $2.5 million, that general fund will pick up about $1.3 million of that. So we thought that this would be a really, really good investment for our employees. Do we have any questions on any of this thus far? We also, and before I even get into this athletic supplement recommendation, one of the first things we wanted to do was also do a proposal on academic supplements, because we really, really want to start doing more towards investing in our academic programs, such as robotics, such as the French Club, such as the Social Science Club. All of these various academic clubs and classes and sponsors are other things that we want to invest in. And we'll have that particular schedule at the next board meeting. Unfortunately, Mr. Mitchell, he's been out the last 3 weeks. I think he broke his leg or knee or something, and he was unable to get this to me in time. But he wanted to work with principals to make sure that whatever number of clubs or classes that we will have that, whether it's the music club or the music sponsor or whomever, so that we'll have those supplements available for them as well. Before I get into athletic supplement, I want to ask Dr. Fenderson, if it's okay, Madam President and Dr. Moore, if he can just kind of say something that relates to athletic supplements, because it's been a while since this has been addressed. Athletic supplements have been addressed, and it's so hard for us to retain coaches, band directors, and several of these other areas. Dr. Fenderson.
Good afternoon, Madam President, board members, and Dr. Moore. Mr. Watson and I have been talking for a while about increasing the supplements. One of the things we've been focusing on, again, has been all of our athletic supplements. A couple of years ago, we talked about this. I guess in 2001, when I was the basketball coach at Lamp High School, these supplements for basketball have not been changed since 2001. That's been 20 years ago. Our middle school supplements have not been changed since 2011. That's when Montgomery County took over the middle school supplements from Park and Recreation. We are constantly losing coaches every year due to our supplements. Coach Tim Miller, he's an '87 graduate of Jeff Davis High School, led Jeff Davis girls to a state championships in the '90s. He left here. He's been in Hazel Green for the last 10 years. He's won 6 or 7 state titles at Hazel Green. Again, he left due to the supplements. Jeff Davis High School, they're in Region 2, 7A. Every head football coach in that region makes $100,000. Our coach at Jeff Davis makes between $57,000 and $63,000. The assistant coaches at all of these high schools make more than our head coach, and it's across the board. In 6A, Region 2, with Lanier, Opelika, Russell County, Carver, all of those schools, those coaches, again, make $100,000, and our coaches, again, are roughly between $50,000 and $60,000. It's hard to compete at the level that we want to compete at with our supplements being where they are. Brewtech, we just had a ring ceremony yesterday for Brewtech girls for winning the indoor state title. We don't even have an indoor supplement for track. But they have a volunteer coach. They went to every meet, they competed, and they won a state title. And again, this is without funding. So again, we've been trying to, since Mr. Watts and myself, since we've been here, we've been looking at these supplements, and these things have to change if we want to make MPS athletics better. People can say what they want to say about academics. Athletics and academic goes together. If you want to change the culture of the school, athletics plays a big part in that. So, I hope that you look at these supplements, and I hope that you approve these supplements, because we really need to get these supplements increased.
Thank you, Dr. Fenderson. I do want to say now, Dr. Fenderson, now we can't afford the $100,000 and that kind of amount right now, so, but I think this is a start. So this is a start. We see first athletic director with football and athletic director without football, because we have some high schools, this is on the high school salary schedule, we have some high schools that do not have a football team. I think most of the magnet schools, I don't think, have a football team. So we see the athletic director with football, athletic director without football, and 10 extra days we recommend to be provided. We also see the varsity head coach, coordinators, and so forth, and the recommendation as it relates to the number of days. And we also see what other districts are paying their head coaches. In fact, just looking at the head football coach, we see Pike Road pays $12,000, but that coach is also paid for 60 extra days of his salary. So he also gets an additional 60 days paid on his salary. Same thing with Autauga. The head coach is $10,000, but paid an additional 90 days of his or her salary. Birmingham, we see $11,500 with 30 additional days, and we're recommending $15,000 with 30 additional days. And of course, we also see the amount that we're recommending for the assistant coaches. And so I think what we're recommending is within the same range of some of these other districts. Of course, again, we can't afford right now. I think we'll continue to do well financially. And I think this is something that we really need to go back and look at maybe every 2 or 3 years. See where we are financially. Could we make these investments? And we cannot leave out academics, Ms. Will. We will not leave out academics. Because that's why we're here, and we want to make sure that these clubs and classes also have some of these same opportunities. But we do see football, we see basketball, we see what we're recommending in basketball. We have had a couple of high school basketball championships. It is extremely hard, as Dr. Fenderson stated, to retain those good coaches when they're winning, because that's the first thing that happens when they win a championship or they compete for a championship. Everybody come looking for them. Everybody come looking for them. And Dr. Fenderson mentioned about the volunteer coach. It would really surprise me if there hadn't been a school district already that have reached out to that particular coach at Brew Tech. So while we have not been paying any supplement to the indoor track, we do want to start addressing, maybe paying a few $1,000s or whatever for that particular area. We just need to be more competitive in our athletics and in our academics. And so that's what we were really, really pushing for. Also, I don't remember, I did talk with Ms. Gillis about the band. In fact, didn't we just lose a band director at Carver and at Jeff Davis? Why did we lose those 2 band directors? There you go, the supplements. That's why we lost both of those band directors at 2 of our premier major high schools. And if you recall correctly, at Jeff Davis, our kids competed. They went to the, what's the thing called?
America's Got Talent.
That's right, went to America's Got Talent. And now the band director is gone. So I do think we need to be a little bit more competitive in these particular areas. And there we see the middle school coaching recommendations as well. And I think that's all I have, Madam President. And I can certainly entertain any questions if you have any.
Mr. Watts is only making fun of me because I said, what about the robotics coach? What about because those are really important. He said it's coming.
Yes.
So, anybody got questions?
I don't have a question, but I would like to say thank you for the explanations. When I read through this, my first inclination was to think, can we not give them a little bit more? So you've cleared that up. We want it to be sustainable. And you also took care of my second concern. We are going to revisit this,
Yes.
and it doesn't have to be 5-10 years from now, a periodic review so that our people, our employees can earn livable wages. So, thank you.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely, thank you.
And, well, one other comment to kind of piggyback off of what Brenda said. I was very pleased to, one, hear about, the addressing of the athletics because the coach that you spoke of, I know him personally, and he's committed so much time to those young ladies and to get them in some of the best colleges in this nation. So I'm just so appreciative of him just giving his time to do that and now having a supplement. In addition to that, I also was like Brenda, I was thinking, I wish we could give them more, but as I went through it, I understood what our financial predicament was, and in time, I too am pleased that this will be revisited. So I just want to say kudos, and I hope, people are excited about it and knowing that, they're being heard and there's more to come when our finances grow, and the more we get, the more we can give.
Absolutely, absolutely. We want to invest in all of our employees for sure. And I do want to just make one little statement, though. Is AEA here? Yes, they are. Okay. I kind of want to say this in front of AEA, that, as we continue to provide these increases and so forth, we also are expecting accountability. So accountability comes along with the increases, come along with doing some of the things that we're trying to do. And so we just want our employees also to just recognize that, we have to continue. I know you're already working hard. I know that we are very, very appreciative to you for that. But we have to continue to do the same, continue to work hard, do what we can, and what the district is going to do, what our board members are stating, is that we are going to invest in you. But I did want to say that in front of AEA, so, Madam President.
I had something to say. Thank you, Mr. Watts, always for bringing this to our attention. I have a comment. I don't know if this matters or anything, but I just don't think that any of our central office or the support staff, I don't think any of those positions should be under $15 an hour. I think that where we are with our economy and with the COVID and everything, and so looking at this, there are only 4 positions that are under $15 now. The paraprofessional aide, which is at $14.93, or what we're going to approve, $13.99 for security guards, custodian at $12.50, and the CMP worker at $14.41. I would like to see what it would change the bottom line if we increase those 4 positions to at least $15 an hour. Just another trivia, FYI, the median hourly wage in Alabama is $16.22. Now, I know that depends on where you live, and, that's about $34,000 a year. I know I'm preaching to the accountant. And the median household is $46,000. Well, at $15 an hour, full-time is $31,200 a year, which is still under what the median is. But I really, this is a long time coming, and there are only 4 positions, which is not, I wouldn't think $2 million that it would add that much, but I would really want to encourage our board and you to relook at those 4 positions and see if we can't bring those 4 up to $15.
Certainly, that's certainly fair enough, and I will have a look at it. The only thing, I just need to make sure that it doesn't spin off something on some other positions and some other levels and so forth. But definitely, I think the $15 an hour plateau is really, really good. In fact, I understand federally, that's what they're trying to do, is try to get everyone up to at least $15 an hour. And so that's something we'll certainly look at.
And wouldn't it be amazing if Montgomery, Alabama came out and we were paying all our support staff $15 an hour before the federal government did, and before Pike Road did, and before anybody else did? How amazing would that be? So I encourage us to maybe look at it to do it this year. That's my 2 cents.
Ms. Bailey is really good. Yes, ma'am, I got it. We'll have a look at that, Ms. Bailey.
Sure.
We will.
Any other questions for Mr. Watts? This is fantastic. We appreciate so much. Dr. Moore?
Okay, thank you.
We do appreciate all of our employees. Montgomery has not been financially able to do a lot of things, I would say in the last probably 30, 40, 50 years. And so as Mr. Watts and I work together, we try to get to a financial status that will be supportive of not only our school district students out there, but also the people who've worked for MPS a long time and have been so dedicated. So we do appreciate that. And it may be a gradual sort of an increase, but we'll continue to look at it over time. So at this time, I'd like for you to consider for approval I recommend approval of the proposed salary adjustment for support staff.
Madam President, I move to accept the superintendent's recommendation for approval of the proposed salary adjustments for support staff and,
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Everybody.
Is there any discussion? All in favor with a show of hands? And that's unanimous. And this is a real good step forward for our employees. So, with that, yes, thank you. With that, our next meeting is August the 10th, and it will be at Carver High School, and we are adjourned.